Welcome to Adopting Zero Trust, an independent podcast. Our hosts, Elliot Volkman and Neil Dennis, will have transparent and open conversations with the people driving modern security approaches forward, while leaving vendor hype behind. It's time to remove implicit trust and buzzwords and get to the root of the movement.
Hello there, and welcome back to Adopting Zero Trust. We are at RSA Conference 2024, and today we're going to do something a little different. We're doing a crossover episode, which means I'm going to hand this over to Chase. You'll give you a little spiel, maybe tell the world about Dr. Zero Trust podcast, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, so I'm Chase Cunningham, Dr. Cunningham, Dr. Zero Trust, if you want to be, cool or whatever. I host my podcast. We break down the realities and we talk about the actual stuff you need to worry about. So if you're looking for truth, come to Dr. Zero Trust.
Maybe a little bit too raw, very clear, transparent.
Very raw.
But Fortunately, we have two wonderful guests who are also going to be joining in that. So I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. So Avi, maybe we can hear about who you are, your background, and where you're at.
Sure. My name is Avi Duglin. I'm currently the chair of the global board of the OWASP Foundation. For those that don't know OWASP, it's a global nonprofit dedicated to providing resources and information to be able to build and test and deploy secure applications. That's what it's all about. In my day job, I run a small boutique consulting company called Balance Security.
Clearly, the guy got his messaging down right. But if you don't know OWASP, I feel like you probably are not listening to the right channel.
For the last 20 years.
I'd be a little concerned.
I would pull your cyber card.
Yeah, a little bit. All right, Stan, how about you, man?
I'm Dr. Standby. I'll go with the doctor thing, but I'm Dr. Deception, so don't believe anything I say. I work at MITRE. I work at the MITRE Corporation, and I have been working for the last probably 10 years on cyber deception. I built MITRE's Engage framework, which is about how we engage with adversaries. And I'm interested in all things about how we protect ourselves from adversaries, how we learn about adversaries, and all the rest of it. I've done a lot of research in a lot of different things.
Perfect. All right. So we've got a little bit of balancing act between the organization that has the top, application threats, what people are probably very familiar with. But correct me if I'm wrong, one of the two organizations recently just released something about AI, protecting its AI too.
OWASP did. I don't
there
know.
We go.
Did MITRE also do that?
So MITRE has a framework as well, but I'll let you go first.
Sure. So OWASP actually has a set of projects, and you can check it out at owaspai.org. And a set of projects both about how to build AI applications, and there's also a really popular LLM top 10 when you're deploying applications built on that. Now, it's really interesting that these projects, of course, everything is open source and volunteer driven, but it's getting real traction, and it's working with the European Union CRA initiative right now, and OWASP is now setting the standards that are going into the EU CRA regulations and soon to become laws eventually about what AI systems look like.
Very cool. All right, Stan.
MITRE has just released a framework, or it's been out for a little while, called Atlas, atlas.mitre.org. And Atlas is all about protecting large language models, protecting AI, and protecting them from threats. I'll just leave it at that.
We need more collaboration there.
If you put AI in front of something, that means it's actually AI, right? That's all this AI stuff, it has to be real AI. And that's what we should take away from this.
These are all
learning,
AIs?
right?
Okay. Are we non-player characters?
I don't know.
Okay, we'll find that out.
I'm in the seventh circle of Dante's Inferno. But.
We'll figure it out.
I will say, I thought every single booth was going to have AI slapped on there.
It wasn't as bad as I was expecting.
Right.
It wasn't,
All right, so as you can obviously tell, we've got a pretty great panel here, which means we're able to talk about something we have not really been able to touch on, which is emerging threats and be able to get in front of them. AI is a big piece of it. A lot of organizations here at RSA Conference are trying to tackle it in various different ways, different flavors, but let's just pivot from there. Chase, I'm going to throw this over to you. You've been in the world of Zero Trust more than most folks. You followed John. So from emerging threats, from things that we're facing today, what do you see as the biggest challenge outside of AI and some of the other stuff that's still killing us every day?
The biggest thing, in my opinion, is that we still are relying on people not to be people. Phishing training is a waste of money. There, I said it at RSA. Stop wasting your money. It's just a bad. You're pissing it away.
Right.
That's one. The other thing is start. I can't understand why organizations that I talk to still sit around hemming and hawing about engaging in cyber and strategy and whatever. You have decades of proof. You have billions of dollars. it's just a matter of time, and it's not a FUD thing, it's just a reality deal. Your death, taxes, and cybersecurity. So start doing something. And as far as emerging threats go and whatever else, if you really look at it, and I think the Verizon, Dibber, and Mandy and M-Trends report and everything MITRE publishes are like biblical references to me. You have a space where the bad guys literally tell you what they're gonna do, and people wonder, how do we stop it? Like, you stop it where they say they're gonna do the thing they're gonna do. It's not rocket surgery. It can get complex, but if you make simple things hard, it's hard. This is the basics, the blocking and tackling, the right way to approach the problem. It just makes a difference.
So I knew you were going to give the right answer, which is that emerging threats are just different layers on top of what has always been the issue. And it's a people-centric
thing. Threat 2.0, whatever.
And
next-gen threats.
It's a new flavor. It's a new branding. That's it. But at the end of the day, it's about people and psychology, and as much as the technology that goes around it, solving it, all that good stuff. Between your two groups, you have, I know you on the gate side, but there's the attack framework. People have TTPs. They highlight the different ways that organizations get hit. You all have, through research and data, the biggest things that you need to resolve, because those are, I don't know, the easiest entry points or the most common vectors of attack. So I'd just love to maybe dig into a little bit of how you have seen AI and some of these other challenges hit the market, how you're dealing with people, especially on the federal government side. Yeah, how are your organizations communicating these different changes in the face of it's still a people-centric challenge?
I'm not going to comment on or phishing training, but it's stranger danger, right? If you want to go back to phishing,
kindergarten.
Yeah, it really is, and it's about us being. What the phishing training is supposed to do, what all these things need to help us do, is be conscious of everything we do now. And that's what we need to be like, why are you answering these questions? Why are you reading this email? Why are you putting your credentials into this thing, right? This is what we need to do, is we need people to be conscious of what's going on. I think that, and going more specifically to your point, I think that AI is problematic because it has a good recall. Like anything that you put into anything you tell a stranger now, they can remember for a long period of time, right? So there's that recall, there's a tailoring. Once it starts learning what you want from all the interactions you give it, you need to, it can tailor that. It can be big, it can scale, it can be one person or 100 people or 20 people. It can operate 24/7. AI can then say pressure release maintainers into giving up the maintenance of a repos to give someone else a chance. Bad things happen. I think these are the sort of things we have to worry about with AI. I don't want to fearmonger, right? Fearmongering is bad. It's stranger danger. Figure out what you need to tell people on the internet. Why are you putting this stuff in? Why are you leaving it laying around? So I think those are the kind of things we need to worry about more than a lot of other things.
I don't disagree with you. Like, I think phishing training and education is good, but I think relying on people not to be people and click links is stupid. Because I was a red teamer, and you can phishing train people, and I'll come the next day and get them. If I send you a kitty picture, game over. That's just what it is. So yeah, train them, educate them, understand, but we also have 10 years of analytic data that says phishing is the #1 vector for 10 years straight.
Always.
Why are we continuing to piss money away when it doesn't make a difference?
Also, having people have the word password as their password.
A
couple simple things.
If creds and phishing is the #1 vector for 10 years straight, there's no question to me about what you solve for first.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I think that's 0 days are problematic and they exist. But like, how many attacks are just brute force on random creds, or just a phishing
That's worrying
email?
about a sniper round when there's a nuclear weapon getting ready to go off.
Or these really advanced attacks called asking for the password.
Oh yeah.
Because people will give it to you.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's, what was the joke a long time ago? There was a cartoon that had an NSA and the CIA guy.
Yes.
And the NSA says, we got to crack the algorithm, whatever. The NSA guy says, give me your wrench. I'll just beat him until he tells me the password.
I think it was the other way around.
Something like that. It's like, this is,
That's good.
I agree, like testing and whatever. But on top of that, when you throw in the AI side, like you've seen my deep fakes, good luck keeping up with that, because I can get by deepfake all day long. And there's been examples of that too. So we've commoditized exploitation just like we've commoditized defense. And it is an arms race that is going to continue going on as long as we're digital. Until fallout happens, we're going to be in this space. We shouldn't be unemployed, which is good, but it just is what it is.
Yeah. Listen, the other aspect is we don't need to be chasing, you said 0 days is a problem, but that's not where we're going to get hacked at.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is that with all these new technologies, everything old is new again.
Right.
Right? Even brand new technology, AI and LLMs, and we have the LLM top 10, and one of the most interesting new risks on that list is prompt injection.
Yeah.
Injection has been, in one form or another, has been on the OWASP top 10 since the very first version.
SQL injection.
SQL injection and other versions of injection. It's injection. It's trusting untrusted input to a trusted parser in an unfiltered way. It's still the same thing with a different model. Once you break it down, I spend a lot of my time doing threat modeling, which is basically trying to simplify the entire system, understanding how it really works, and then you understand what can go wrong. And it's a lot of the same stuff all the time. The crazy thing is, I think it was 1999, some Microsoft folks came up with this framework called STRIDE. Spoofing, tampering, reputation, information, disclosure, knowledge, stuff, this. The crazy thing is you can apply this to an LLM system today, AI system today. You're not going to find 100% of the issues.
Right.
You're going to find a lot. You have to be flexible in your thinking, but it's still the same things. So if you get the basics done right, if you pay attention to the fundamentals, then these emerging threats are just passing scenery.
Absolutely.
AI is a big change, but the basics still apply.
So I'm so glad that you position it that way, because I want to pivot a little bit and we'll probably roll back right to where we were. But there's a media literacy component to this too. Now, it's not just media literacy, as in the organizations that have to cover these like 0-day attacks, new breaches incidents, all that stuff. But there's also organization vendors who do their research and they're trying to highlight new, unique things. So things that fall outside of TTPs, outside of the top 10. And they obviously get more attention because they're novel, they're unique, they draw attention. So in your perspective, do you feel like that is a problem? It is an unhealthy scenario where organizations just keep chasing after those big things.
You touched on the top 10, so I'm going to start with that. A lot of organizations follow the top 10 and they have compliance with the top 10. And there's huge amount, almost all the vendors have built their tools around the top 10, scan for the top 10. Basically building out compliance with the top 10. The top 10 is not a standard.
Right.
It's an awareness document. It's basically, hey guys, security is important. Here's a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
If you're worried about the top 10, I see this shirt all the time. I got popped by the OWASP top 11 and the top 25 and the 103. It doesn't matter. The top 10 is just because they're easy to understand categories, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't help you understand what the actual system is. That doesn't help you find the real issues.
Yeah.
If you get hacked by something on the top 10, that's negligence, in my opinion, unless it's something real extreme.
Right.
It's basic hygiene, it's basic table stakes. This is not for extreme banking systems. If you put a cat log on the internet, you have to watch out for the top 10 because literally the table stakes of having any kind of software development. Anything past that, yes, people ignore it. In some ways, the top 10 has done a disservice in that way. Too much awareness of the top 10 and not awareness of everything else, which is why I don't talk about the top 10 often. I talk about threat modeling. I talk about things like the ASVS, the Application Security Verification Standard. That is a standard. And you got 290 security requirements to build into your systems. This is how to do security engineering, how to do security by design, right? This is what you need.
What you got?
The threat modeling, I think, is the important thing. Is what are your gazuntas, what are your gazadas, and what goes on inside there. I think it's always going to be. I don't think you can just worry about the top 10. It's all, and I think the biggest problem is not enough people are doing hygiene, right? This is like, how is it that not everyone has 2FA on everything today, right? I have my Microsoft Authenticator on all my personal accounts and everything. I don't even understand when organizations say they don't have 2FA. It's as simple things like this that we just have to deal with. And we're not effectively as a community dealing with this yet. And you try and do a lot of research. I'm sure you guys do a lot of research. And there's all this thing about how we defend against high-end threats. And then you got people who use password as password, right? I don't know what to do. So I think
We built the system where the punitive measures do not outweigh the incentivization.
Right.
Because we've got all these compliance standards. Find me a business that's violated compliance standards knowingly to egregiously that has gone out of business. They're not there. PCI, HIPAA, high trust, whatever, you do it. It's the cost of business. They allocate money, they pay the fine and go on about their day, and then nothing changes. If we built airplanes the way that we build digital infrastructure, there'd be 8 of them out in front of Moscone right now in heaping piles of rubble, but nobody would be punished. It would just be like, oops, sorry, we forgot to put the door on Boeing, so whoopsie, no big deal. Until we change the punitive measures for like negligence and other things that we have in other areas, it's not gonna make a difference. And that, I don't think until the legislation, until the leadership from top comes down and says, if you don't enable MFA for 3 years on an internet-facing account, it's not a oopsie, it's you're going to prison for a year. That will change things. You know what I mean?
That's a lot.
Where we start to change stuff. We're having 8K filings, we're having CISOs having to answer for stuff.
Yeah.
The golden parachutes are there, whatever else, but literally, if this is a critical infrastructure space where people have died, and I read and published the research this year, I pirated some of the research really, around that there were, I think it was 86 humans died because they were unable to get medical care because of an outage.
Yeah.
If 100 Americans died from any other thing,
Right.
it would light
Sure.
the world up and it would change stuff. But because it's cyber, and because it's digital and nebulous,
Right.
they just go, where's the nerds? Somebody let the firewall open. Like, it's not real. So in my opinion, we've architected the legalization, the compliance standards, everything else
Right.
to be fraudulent. And until we change it and actually enforce it, nothing's going to actually change. All this is great, but it doesn't change anything.
Can I jump on that with 2 comments?
Yeah.
Number one, I don't think it's the CISO that should be punished here.
No, I think it's the whole board, the CEO, everybody.
And the engineering organization.
Oh, sure.
They're the ones who build the systems, they need to build it right.
Yeah.
CISO is a check, support system, whatever you want to call that, but it's the engineers. I'm not saying every
I'm more a
programmer.
developer right now. Jeez.
Hey, listen, it's not the developers. Developers do what they're told, right?
Right.
It's the entire engineering organization from the VP R&D and the CTO on and up, right?
But there's also a
But that's the
difference
thing. No.
between misconfigurations that are done and whatever, and overt negligence. Most of what we
Right.
see that's egregious is overt negligence.
I agree with you
Admin
100%.
to the internet for years on end, you should be shot out of a cannon into the sun.
SQL injection on the login page,
Shot
which
out of a
still
cannon into the
happens.
sun. We should just build a giant trebuchet and just start launching people into the sun. I'm sorry, I just, like,
The other thing I want to touch on, you basically posed a formula here and say we need to increase the punitive, which is, I can't disagree with that. That makes sense. But I'd rather focus on the other side of that because there is value to be had in actually doing it.
But
And doing it right.
I agree with you.
Doing
But
well.
my point is, we've built a system where that doesn't equate, and we have plenty of research and plenty of publications that tell people unequivocally, data-driven, if you do these basics right, it will save you money in the long run, which all of us are here because money is a thing.
Yeah.
Like, we've already changed that. The incentivization is there. The incentivization is not suck and not get pwned and whatever else.
Well,
what we should do is implement a tax break for organizations that are cyber efficient is what we ought to do.
That's not bad. I like that idea. But saving money is not value. What value is what businesses don't exist to save money.
Sure.
They exist to make money.
Sure.
And you can make money from security, from secure product. I don't mean selling secure products. Now, nobody pays extra for security. You don't pay extra to have seatbelts in your car. But if you're buying a car that doesn't have seatbelts, you're gonna either pay less or not buy it at all. People pay less.
If it was fishing training, they would tell you, look, we have a seatbelt, make sure you buckle it right before you get in a wreck.
Right. My point is there is value to be had by doing things right. It is more efficient, as you say. There's save money, save time, all that stuff. But you can actually generate, and I don't even mean for security products.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever it is you're selling, we protect your information, whether it's privacy, security, whatever you want to call that, however you want to look at that, there's value to be had.
Sure.
We need to be driven by that business value and not check the box compliance.
Totally. And I would love to see an experiment where if we came up with one line in the tax code that said if we can validate your security posture and it's acceptable, you get a tax break, the entire system would change in a month.
The interesting thing is that OWASP actually has a few projects in place to set that up, to do that verification, whether it's things like
legislators that listen to this, call OWASP.
Whether it's things like Cyclone DX and software bill of materials with cryptographic attestations to what is built into that, to standards like ASVS and SAM.
Yeah. If we have EPA standards that you get a tax break on because your building is reflective and shiny, why can't we have a cybersecurity tax break?
Love it.
Makes sense
Maybe
to me. That's how you reduce insurance premium.
Like that would be my stump is cyber tax something. I don't know, but whatever.
And that was the first step in getting seatbelts and cars more safe.
There you go.
If you have this, then
we will give
tax
you a
breaks
discount.
and all that stuff.
Everybody likes discounts.
And eventually became a requirement.
So, one of the things we talk about, like compliance is yesterday's problem, right? It's just like, don't let this happen again. I just wonder, where's resilience in your guys' thought about building things that are resilient to attacks? And I think it goes to this is, I don't know how we move that incentive from this idea of, let's not get honed by the same thing we did yesterday, but how do we start thinking about the architecture so we can be more resilient going forward, so we don't have to, that people should not be just worried about yesterday's attack. And that's a problem. And that's what I see all the time is it's just, I followed exactly what I was supposed to be compliant, and it happened. Que sera, que sera. So how do we actually work towards getting more resilient? I wonder if you guys have any thoughts on that. Let me just chuck that in there.
I'll jump in on that because it's going to sound like a broken record, right? There's three parts to this. What are you building? This ASVS gives you the security requirements. Do this right. If you build it according to this way, you're secure. Level 3 ASVS, you don't need to worry about specific attacks. You're going to be resilient. You build your software process using something like OWASP SAM, Software Assurance Maturity Model, right? It covers the entire software development life cycle end to end, and it's a maturity model so you could build up over time in various different areas. And if you're doing things right, even if there are mistakes, you will catch it because that's how the process works. And my third drum that I always bang on is threat modeling. I've already said 3 times, I don't need to go into that. But then you know how it's working, you understand the issues. You don't need to worry about what will happen because you know what will happen. That's what threat modeling does. It gives you that visibility and understanding how to build it right.
Yeah.
Works for me. Now just make it a thing. That's where we're at is weird. I think we're at a critical spot after we've gotten past COVID and everything else, and unfortunately, the military guy in me sees that until a substantial event and loss of human life occurs because of a cyber-related event that is clearly tied to it, it's not going to make much difference. Now, even though we know last year we lost nearly 100 Americans because of the cyber thing, until, I don't know, cruise ship just falls over or something because they put all the water on the side where the people were not eating or something, I don't know, and it just tips or something. But until there's bodies, it's not real, and that's a problem.
Yep.
Digital loss of money, so what? Digital loss of blah, blah, meh. But critical infrastructure, we can't go 3 days without a water system showing up, without an electric grid. Like, I don't know how much more it takes to finally say, let's do something different. We're in an election year. There's so much going on. Buy ammo, because I know I can take care of me.
We're censoring that one out, don't worry.
Yeah, right? Buy generators, buy ammo, like that type of stuff.
All right, more censoring. That brings us to a time, and not for any reason that you just communicated. No, just kidding. Avi, Stan, thank you so much for chatting. And if anything, and I know we're preaching to the choir because both of our audiences that overlap of, this is about being defensive, proactive. Yeah, we'll use this shift left conversation, but ultimately this still wraps back to zero trust. It is verify everything. No inherent trust, and stop worrying about lists that say top 10. Focus on threat modeling, risks that impact your organization, and that's it. It's the philosophy of it. It's not just having fun in the back room with a hoodie on. That's not really how our space works. It's about empathy, people-centric. I think you all have definitely communicated that.
Agreed.
Yep. Huge fans of everything you guys do. Love the stuff I read, MITRE's, everything. It's just, you guys publish this amazing content.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for all you do too.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for joining AZT, an independent series. Your hosts have been Elliot Volkman and Neil Dennis. To learn more about Zero Trust, go to adoptingzerotrust.com, subscribe to our newsletter, or join our Slack community. Viewpoints expressed during the show do not reflect the brands, employers, or companies of our hosts, guests, or potential sponsors.